It started on a warm Saturday morning, one of those rare, perfect days where everything seemed to slow down just enough to enjoy it. I had just moved into my new apartment complex on Maple Hollow Lane, a quiet suburban cul-de-sac filled with trimmed hedges, HOA signs, and rows of nearly identical townhomes painted in shades of beige and olive. I'd only been there for 3 days when I first saw her. She stood at the far end of the sidewalk, arms crossed, visor tilted slightly down like she was shielding herself from a non-existent sunbeam. A clipboard hung from her hand, swinging with purpose. Her lips were pursed in a permanent state of disapproval. Karen. Of course, I didn't know her name then, but there was no mistaking her energy. She marched through the lot like a self-appointed sheriff of suburbia, taking notes on anything that moved or didn't. I waved. She didn't wave back. That afternoon, after unloading a few boxes from my hatchback, I returned from the dumpster to find a bright yellow slip fluttering beneath my windshield wiper. Notice of HOA violation. Unauthorized vehicle parking. $75 fine due in 48 hours. I stared at it, confused. I hadn't parked on grass, in a fire lane, or in anyone's spot. I was in my own assigned space, Unit 3B. At the bottom of the notice, in aggressively cursive print, filed by Karen D., Neighborhood Preservation Liaison. I raised an eyebrow. That wasn't a real position. The next morning, I walked to the leasing office with the notice in hand. I hadn't unpacked half my boxes yet, and now I was already being fined by someone who didn't even have a badge or business cards. Tammy, the leasing agent, looked at the slip and nearly choked on her coffee. "She gave you this?" she asked, squinting. I nodded. "She's not with the HOA," Tammy said plainly. "She's just very involved." "Involved like writes fake tickets involved?" Tammy sighed. "We've warned her before. She printed those herself, by the way. That's not an official citation." "Can I just ignore it?" Tammy leaned in, lowering her voice. "Officially, yes. But just a heads up, she'll escalate. She'll file noise complaints, photograph your license plate, and report you to imaginary departments if she thinks you're not following her rules." I blinked. "So what do I do?" Tammy smirked. "I didn't tell you this, but if she wants to play HOA cop, maybe you should play City Hall." It was just a joke, a light-hearted comment, but something in me clicked. If Karen wanted to play official, maybe it was time someone returned the favor. That evening, I created a Word document with the title, Citation, Unlawful Distribution of Fraudulent Notices, Code 144.7, False Claims Against Residents. Below it, I wrote up a fine. Amount $0, warning. Issued by Suburban Code Compliance Initiative, District Representative number 8841. I printed it on bright orange paper and folded it neatly. At dawn, I slipped it into the black mailbox mounted beside Karen's door. Then I waited. It took less than 4 hours. A screech echoed down the walkway. Not a car, not a bird, an actual human screech. I peeked through the blinds just in time to see Karen storming out in a matching lavender tracksuit, orange paper clenched in one hand like it had personally insulted her family. She stomped toward the leasing office. Later that day, I received a knock at my door. It wasn't Karen, it was Tammy, barely holding back a smile. "She came in demanding to know why the city was auditing her," she whispered. "And?" "I told her we'd pass it along to the proper department, and then I told her that if she passed out one more fake fine, we would file a complaint." I raised a brow. "There is no proper department." Tammy winked. "Exactly." By Tuesday, things had cooled off, or so I thought. I came home from work to find a folded paper wedged into my doorframe. I unfolded it with a sigh, expecting another yellow slip. But this one was different. It read, "You think you're clever, but I have friends in city records. Keep your car clean, people are watching." KD. The handwriting was unmistakable. There were no fake fines this time, just an ominous warning and the deeply unsettling knowledge that Karen thought she was now in a cold war with me. I took a deep breath and reminded myself not to escalate, but that was before I checked my mailbox. Inside was a citation, this time from a completely made-up department titled Community Enforcement Bureau of Safety and Sanitation. Karen had doubled down, complete with a forged seal and a list of codes that didn't exist. That's when I decided. If she wanted to play government, it was time to go full civil service. I opened a new file and titled it Official Audit Request, Improper Code Enforcement Authority Abuse, docket number 001. I stayed up late that night, crafting the perfect document. This wasn't just another fake ticket. I wanted Karen to feel the full weight of a fictional bureaucracy, the kind that sends chills down the spine of anyone who's ever tried to return expired coupons with attitude. I created a detailed letter on mock letterhead, Department of Neighborhood Standards and Municipal Ethics Oversight, complete with a fabricated seal featuring an eagle holding a recycling bin, a reference number, case number 7732-B, abuse of quasi-official influence. 3 citations for impersonation of a municipal officer, and a warning of potential community review board hearings. I printed it in bold serif font, folded it meticulously, and slid it into a plain white envelope with a red stamp on the corner. Action required. Before sunrise, it was delivered, carefully placed under Karen's welcome mat, just peeking out. That same afternoon, I saw her standing in her driveway, the letter clutched in both hands like it was radioactive. She looked up and down the street, then darted back inside without even checking her mailbox. By Thursday morning, her violation patrol walks had stopped entirely. No clipboard, no visor. The neighborhood felt peaceful. Too peaceful. That's when I noticed something strange. Every car in the lot, including mine, now had a flyer on the windshield. A slick, glossy one, professionally printed. Concerned Citizens for Community Integrity. Do you know who's living next door? Below the title was a picture of me, grainy, taken from across the lot. My jaw dropped. Karen had made a flyer campaign. She'd escalated from fake tickets to propaganda, and she wasn't hiding anymore. She was going public. I stood there in stunned silence, the glossy flyer fluttering slightly in my hand. It had my face, my unit number. Even a line that read, "This man impersonates law enforcement and threatens community safety. Beware." At the bottom, in bold red letters, "Report suspicious activity to the HOA hotline immediately." There was just one problem. There was no HOA hotline. She made that up too. I looked around. Every car had one. She'd clearly been out before sunrise again, planting them like seeds of paranoia. I snatched up the ones nearest to my apartment, but I couldn't get to them all. By lunch, 3 neighbors had already given me side eyes. One woman on the second floor crossed the lot just to avoid walking near me. I'd been there less than a week, and now I was officially the weird guy on Maple Hollow Lane. Karen had turned me into a villain overnight. Enough was enough. I walked back inside, locked my door, and opened my laptop. If she wanted a war of misinformation, I was going nuclear. I created an email address with an official-sounding name, maplehollowauditor@cityreviewmail.org, and drafted a letter addressed to Residents of Maple Hollow Lane, Internal Oversight Committee Alert. I kept it vague, ominous, and full of redacted sections. Then I printed 20 copies and waited for dark. At 3:12 a.m., I slid them under every door. The next morning, the complex was buzzing. But it wasn't about me. Someone had posted a photo to the community bulletin board. Karen's front lawn was covered in orange citations, at least 20 of them, real ones, from the actual city. And right in the middle of her porch was a large yellow envelope marked, "Cease and desist, official enforcement action pending." But I hadn't sent them. And that's when I realized someone else was fighting back.